Welcome to the Warren Cycling Podcast. My name is Dean Warren. I'm in Bellevue, Washington. I almost forgot I'm not in Seattle. I'm in Bellevue, Washington. Yeah.
But if
Washington.
you're from Seattle, Bellevue's considerably different. But if you're not, it's not so different.
Yeah, it's a bright, sunny but cold day. It was already, it was below freezing a little bit ago. So I didn't plan to ride today because it'd be complicated, I think, to find a bike and just couldn't go for a run because it still runs some, I think. But wait till it warms up. It's a little too cold for me. So I've got my gear to go ride, though, in the Netherlands. I should be there on Sunday.
I'm Randy Warren, and I'm in Asheville, North Carolina. And it was 70 degrees yesterday when I left on my ride. And then during the ride, the temperature dropped 20 degrees.
Ooh. Yeah, I saw that. But then it got back up again. It dropped, and then at least you had a jacket with you.
Back to the 60s, yeah. It was threatening possibly rain, so I brought the rain jacket, thank goodness. But I didn't go high in the mountains either. I just went maybe 1,000 feet higher than our house, and yeah. But it just ran into some low-lying clouds, I think, and they had not had sunshine. So yeah, it was, as I was climbing, it was getting colder, which is unusual. Usually when you're climbing, you're warm, and you don't notice the temperature drops, and then you get to the top, and it's kind of chilly. But no, this one here, I was on the climb, first climb, big climb, and
yeah, so our introductions today are longer because it's not really where we are, but what exercise or what riding have we done. So I guess if we next interview, we'll have to cue in the interviewee that they have to add all that too. But no, it's episode 280 of the Warren Cycling Podcast. We're coming up on our 6th-year anniversary. I think March of 2016 when we first started the podcast. And that time we started, we were just like, hey, we're always talking about cycling stuff. I've been listening to, I think only at that time, the cycling podcast from Great Britain, which has really evolved. I mean, they've grown, and I don't know if they can all, I don't know what they do on the side still because they both were writers and do some TV work, I know. But since then, there's tons of podcasts now. I mean, I was listening to the Bobby and Jens, which came from Vela News. I think Vela News still has their own podcast, but there's other former riders. I think Ian Boswell has one. I saw Mitch Docker has one. Is he still racing? There's lots of podcasts. So I'm just happy that we're still be able to do this because we do it because we like to talk about cycling. We thought, we'll record it. We have a little different perspective. You're a cycling coach and a racer, and now another national champion racer. We'll talk about that. Your national championship win over the weekend, and I do well. Mine's a little different. I have a son who races competitively in the U.S. I do get around with press pass some. I just saw that my new press card's coming in the mail, so I got 2 more years as an international media journalist. At least this medium is more recognized now to get, because like at the World Championships a couple of years ago, they weren't really like podcasters have. They're not enough to get a media credential, but now
so a lot of them. I just checked. Mitch Docker did retire, so just end of last year.
Yeah, but there's a lot of different ways you can ingest, follow cycling, but hopefully. I think we get downloads still. I hope people are still listening. You get comments too from people maybe you haven't met personally. So we appreciate you listening, and thanks. Hope you like our perspective, our kind of wandering we do. Interject our own
casual conversations.
Casual, but we do once in a while get to talk to professional cyclists who. I consider us like the practice podcast for them when get good media practice of talking about to. Be right, but some are excellent speakers anyway, and do just fine. But these young guys are coming up doing really well, and if we catch them early on, like I found a Brandon McNulty interview on a video. We're YouTubing our podcast today. I thought we need to keep a YouTube presence, and you can see how we're aging, I guess, over these 6 years. But and I have my background today. Van Aert in his World Championship cyclocross outfit kit. From 2017, I guess. He was riding up the Koppenberg, but in a cyclocross race, the Koppenberg race, and this is the opening weekend coming up at the end of February here in 2022 for the Cobbled Classic, and he's a favorite, although I think he's trying to downplay his form. So we'll talk about that some. You hang up that phone so we don't have that coming out. It is quieter than it has been before. But we'll talk about the other races going on in Spain, a new quote unquote new stage race, or revived kind of stage race with a new name. And we got the Tour of Rwanda, which we don't have too much information because the GCN, which has great coverage now online to watch most of these races, they don't have the highlights up yet. And then we have the UAE Tour. I don't know if you saw that today. The breakaway makes it to the line, denies the sprinters, but there's some little interesting political ties to that too. So yeah, let's get into it. We're always time constrained. We're always especially busier. When I'm in Bellevue and I don't have a bike and nobody to visit, I've got a little more time than you do.
Yeah, I pack it in for sure.
Yeah, you got things probably you won't talk about your like kit order. That's always a big deal. But you've always been involved in cycling clubs, biggest in Chicago, the XXX biggest probably club you've been involved in, right? The Cal Poly before the Wheelmen, and then now the Dart in Asheville are probably the three biggest clubs you've been associated with, would you say?
Yeah. I mean, the first team I started was at University of Redlands, and we were like 65 people. And then Cal Poly was 125 usually or so. And then XXX at one point was 215 or so, and I think it's around 165 now. And Dark's around 40.
Yeah.
So,
but you always have been involved, not just riding and racing, but involved in the leadership, the organization, kit ordering, everything, every facet of the clubs, right?
Yeah, usually I've been also on like Velavante, and I didn't really do too much management stuff with them. Although they at one point said, hey, you should do more management stuff with us, but I was living in San Luis Obispo and they were based in LA. And then I was on the Tulip City Two Wheelers was my first club, and I didn't really ever do anything with them in Holland. But yeah, with the Redlands, I was the coach of all of these teams, and then oftentimes an advisor, or 1 year I was actually president of Cal Poly, and actually I'm president right now of Dart too. So yeah,
you're president of XXX, weren't you?
No, XXX, I came in as hired coach, a paid coach, and then when the person leading the team left, I said I will not lead the team because that's not what you hired me to do, but I'll advise you and I'll help form a management team and then guide that management team. And so that formation, which I created then, became a nonprofit and a 501c3, and they still operate in essentially the same format I created for them in 2001.
So like if it was an executive and a president, then you're like a cabinet member then, right? You were an advisor or more than
advisor,
you're like the whole cabinet.
Yeah, no, for XXX I never had I was always I was the only paid employee. I was the coach and advisor, coach / I guess an advisor. Advisor is more more informal, I guess. But I never had a board position with them. Now they even have at-large positions that are just trying to get more people involved in the club too. But I always came to all the meetings and stuff and helped them, and still do right now even still. So I still operate as a coach for them, and we'll run a couple camps, including one in San Luis Obispo coming up at the end of March, beginning of April. So my first camp is gravel.
Only XXXers can join these camps, right?
Only XXXers can join that camp, but if you want to go to the camp, and you could just join the team though to go to the camp. And we've had people do that who just want to go to the camp, and they've paid the membership dues to be on the team to get to go to the camp. So yeah, but it's a lot of team building and bonding and stuff too amongst people that are coming. But there's some alumni who come and stuff that don't even live in the area anymore, but they're tied to the team one way or another. But you could just come. It's a great deal. But other camps are more just open, like my gravel camp. People from I don't even know can come to that camp if they want.
Right. Well, I guess I have to think, though, I did start a cycling club in Loveland, Colorado.
Yeah.
Before I left Colorado, and so I was involved in everything. It's too much to do everything for a club, be in charge of the finances, the kit ordering, the organization, the meetings, but
yeah,
it's hard to find people that have time commitments to do the stuff, and then you see it's not working or not doing what it could be. It's hard not to be involved.
Right. That's why XXX was great, because it was really big, and so we had lots of resources, and I didn't have to do a lot of stuff. So Dark I have to do a little bit more. Like I said, I'm actually president, but I've got a treasurer, and then I've got other board members who can do things too. So it does help spread the workload out some, which is great. But you're right, like the kit order. I run stuff by the board, but it's still, I have to make a lot of decisions on my own and stuff too, just because it's too cumbersome to have a whole committee do everything. So they do some things, like they'll vote on the design.
It's hard enough just to get the design vote to go through, like, or
Yeah.
what everybody likes enough, and then they get, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, we could talk a whole podcast maybe about organization of cycling clubs, but I could talk a little bit. I was just in London, and I wanted to ride one of their bike share bikes. They have Santander bikes all over, just like Paris. These stands, like very similar. You can go do it right at this kiosk, like on the stand, or you can do it with an app. But I couldn't get my card to get accepted on the app. It wouldn't take my zip code but it had countries. So I thought, well, it must accept other country ones. But I don't know. After a while, you just like, I'm always spending too much time. I give up. So
in Nice, so it was me too. I just gave up.
Yeah.
I couldn't get to work. So
but I saw another American come up, and I said, "Oh, you try." I couldn't get my card to work, and it worked for him. So I don't know. So I was like,
so you had him, you gave him $5 and you got him on the bike, right?
Yeah. No, I just ran. So I ran more. Yeah, I got a big run in, but that's another story. So, but the bike racing has been great. The UAE Tour, first World Tour going on. Top sprinters, and wow, I think about Mark Cavendish is looking good, but he's not invincible, of course. But
he
Jasper
crashed
Philipsen,
the last couple days.
He crashes a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he's not been sprinting either the last couple days, right?
Yeah.
And they said he was going to continue riding. He broke his helmet, but yeah, maybe they're trying to nurse him through to the final day sprint or something like that.
Yeah, Jasper Philipsen's look good,
2 wins, right?
Fast. Yeah, so 2 wins for him. But
Pogčcar, the big climb.
Yeah, you got the same climb twice, right? Don't they do it pretty much the same climb, different way to get up? They don't have that many climbs they do in this race. But the fascinating thing is, just like we were talking about the last podcast of the races, of how big these uphill sprint finishes are with how big the groups are. Like these sprinters. Sprinting climbers.
Yeah.
Sprinting.
Well,
yeah. I mean,
and
a much bigger group coming up.
Climbing time trialists too. So
that's going on same here in the UAE, because Filippo Ganna, who did not win the time trial though. No. EF Education,
Surprise.
Easy Post, Stefan Bissiger, fantastic talent there, Swiss rider, time trialist, who's still pretty young. I might allow you to do the stat checking, because
sure.
I've got my notes today. I had a little more time to get ready as you were working on other things, and I'm here in Bellevue, Washington, with freezing cold temperatures out. So I got my notes today. But anyway, Stefan Bissiger, when it was a short time trial.
23.
Yeah, 23. Yeah. Filippo Ganna, he's about 26, is he? He's not that much older.
No, I think 26 is a pretty good guess. I think I can see that one too.
Well, but okay, so you got Filippo Ganna, and even at the beginning, I want to be more known.
25.
25. Sure. Ineos Grenadier rider wants to be more than just a time trial. He's a beast, but he's big. What, 88 kilos, I think, isn't he? Something like that. No, that's too big. Yeah. Anyways, he's a tall guy too. So, but yeah, he was in
82 kilograms. Yeah, 1.93 meters.
Yeah, which our U.S. people probably have no idea how. I mean, you and I are around a little over 70, around 70 kilos. So and we're almost 6 feet tall. So, but
yeah.
And we're not tower, but general cyclists. When I go to races and see these, like Alexander Kristoff, wow, he's a big sprint. Yeah, he's not that big. But you look at the peloton, you think, wow. So I mean, like Taylor Phinney. Now he's
like tall. 6'2", I think.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess at least. Yeah. No, he's tall. Yeah, but so anyway, Filippo Ganna, he crushed it going up that climb, better than Stefan Bissiger. But he's been wanting to be known more than just a time trialist, and so he got to the last group. He's a couple of seconds behind, right?
3 seconds.
Yeah, he touched on. Wow, but so it came down to the big figure. Adam Yates, Tadej Pogčcar, the two previous winners for the last 2 years. Adam Yates in 2020, Pogčcar last year, and it's UAE's home race. So Pogčcar, even though his big focus is still the repeat as tour champion for 3 in a row, he'll be going this year, but he likes to win all year long, is coming in good shape, and he got the best of Adam Yates. Adam Yates looked good, but not by much. It was a big group coming up, and like we said, Filippo Ganna tagging on at the end of that group, so you didn't see that the last couple of years, not at all on that.
No. They said it was a a headwind, I think, too.
Yeah,
So
that makes a big difference.
Keeps it compact, but yeah, still it's impressive, and it also progressive because UAE rode the climb. I did watch the final climb, the last 8 kilometers, because I heard that was where a lot of things were happening. But I think that's where Bessinger dropped off at 7.3 or something like that. But it was a lot of attacking by UAE. They had Micah going, and then they had Yao Hameda, I think, went up the road. He was a more less attacking, but just kind of leading the group back. I think bringing people back, and then
Pogčar had Plop.
Yeah, yep. And Pogčar went earlier. He went early and kind of put some pressure on, and then came back to the group. So the UAE rode it really smart, I think. Ineos, was more like kind of following more than leading in that climb. So for sure. But you're right. Adam Yates he rode fantastic still too, and if he was a better time trialist, he'd be up a little higher. But Pogčar he's just impressive. He rides strongly all year long, and it seems like he almost wins at will. So
yeah. So they have one more stage, one more time up the climb, and Pogčar yesterday though on stage 5 he flatted a 7K out.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and Chase got back out. He got riders dropped back. He got back on within like 3 or 4 kilometers though, didn't he?
Yeah, he's back on at 4K to go. Yeah,
that's not very far at all.
No, they sent back riders like you said, and he apparently was very calm during the panic that was happening. And then afterwards, he was like, I had to work a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's impressive. He's more so because, when he first was doing really well, I mean, he's still, 23 or 24? Was he old? We should look that one up. But he's very young still, but he's starting now we get to know him more as a more complete person and rider, too, and how he reacts to things. Before, he was just this young kid who would attack at will and surprise people, and then how did he win the Tour de France, the final time trial, and then he solidified it, and now we see him winning, monuments in the same year as the Tour, and now we're starting to see more and more who he is as a complete rider. So it's kind of, sometimes we kind of get to know these people as they work their way up the rankings and stuff too, and so a lot about them when they win. But Pogčar, we're discovering a lot more about him after he's been a two-time Tour champion now.
Right, and he is just 23.
23.
Only 23. Yeah. And he's already won, like you said, the Tour twice. But he won, which is always disappointed. I think about the talent, like I have Brandon McNulty, an interview from him at Raleigh back in 2017 at the Tour Redlands, which we at least will still have, but upcoming race, that he said he wasn't going to do that year because of his injury. Coming back was the Tour California, which is a race that so much missing because a lot of these riders like Tadej Pogčar, he won it, the Tour of California in 2019. So that's 3 years ago. Yes, and we saw Julian Alaphilippe win that race, battle with Peter Sagan the year before he won too to win it. So, and even Peter Sagan, when he first came on, was winning a bunch of stages. So that was such an amazing race to see the preview of some riders that developed then or had success there in California and then came really on big.
Yeah, it was definitely
years later. So
kind of like Tour de l'Avenir, Tour of the Future kind of thing, where the people who won that race frequently would go on to do bigger and bigger things. It seems like the European teams would send their up and coming GC riders a lot of times to that race, but
also sometimes other top riders as well. So I mean,
Wiggins, he won 1 year, right?
Yeah, so after he was a Tour champ. So yeah, and then the top American riders get a chance to race well on their home roads. So
I saw an interview with
California.
I saw an interview with Jonas Carney just recently that talked about how he was lamenting the fact that there's no place. There's all these good up and coming riders now in the pro circuit, and not Rally anymore. Health Advantage. What's it called? Advantage.
Human powered health.
Human powered health. Thank you. They're doing so well, and they have these young riders and all these other guys too and stuff too. But he was just saying that pipeline is maybe being diminished now because there's not this chance for these domestic teams or certain level pro teams that would get into California or Alberta or Utah or these races that were big races in America, and they just aren't there anymore. And so that might hurt the pipeline 5-10 years out. You're just not going to have as many people who have the opportunity to. You still have the USA Cycling's program in Europe and stuff, and you still have Action Berman. Action. But that's about it. There's no other opportunities, and so unless they're so talented as an 18, 19-year-old, they can jump right away to a World Tour team.
Which some are.
Which some are, yeah.
Amazingly.
Yeah.
And Magnus Sheffield, one of them.
Yeah.
Got a win already.
Got a win already, yep.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much the pathway right now, is to be that talented,
Right. Well, yeah, because inject here, I saw, and then it was, I guess maybe another impetus. We should put our YouTube channel to use a little bit with our podcast sometimes, and not just to watch it. The Lantern Rouge podcast. I don't know if you've seen that or heard of that, but that pops up, and it's I think he's actually Australian, but I think he's British based now. A couple guys, but they interviewed Sepp Kuss, had a long interview with Sepp Kuss, so like a 40-minute interview, and so Sepp was talking about, because he was talking about his success like at the Tour of Utah, and not having that race now for riders, because someone like Sepp, who came in not the same way as a lot of these other riders, but from that mountain biking background and got on the road, relatively late, but to have a chance to race and do well. He did first at the Redlands. He won a stage there with Gateway Harley. I think he was still on before he got a rally, and then of course he went on and dominated that Tour of Utah. But I think he was already talking to World Tour teams before then, he said in the interview. And even though that really showed, even though he had gone to Europe and raced a little bit there, and it takes a little bit to get acclimated to that kind of racing in Europe. But yeah, look at him now, Tour de France stage winner, and Jumbo-Visma, one of the biggest teams. So, but not having that Tour of Utah to show himself, and it's like the Tour of California too. It's more difficult for sure.
Yeah, Larry Warbass too had an interview this year, and he said the same thing. We've interviewed Larry before too, and he said that he doesn't know if he would have made the World Tour in the current structure, because it took him longer to develop as a rider, and he was able to do that, through the system that was in place at the time. And since that system's not there anymore, he thinks maybe he wouldn't have been a World Tour rider if he ended the sport today.
Yeah. Well, we can only do with what we can work with, so hopefully the riders will get more opportunity. I think maybe just the general exposure is possibly a little bit better now because of just the internet. I guess if a rider did well, maybe at a Redlands race or somewhere in the U.S., they might. They're still U.S. If the USA Cycling is watching and keeping their eye on and being able to send riders in to race, because they take a U.S. team like to the Tour de l'Avenir, and that they still have some opportunities. Just maybe a little more difficult now. So
yeah. And there are, it's like if you're on Wildlife Generation, you could be racing a Tour of Rwanda right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, so let's tie these two races together, because in light of the world news going on with Russia invading in Ukraine, it was kind of fascinating to see. And I saw Andrew Hood wrote an article about that too. Like the UCI hadn't made a response yet to this invasion, whereas you see UEFA moved already the Champions League final from St. Petersburg, Russia to Paris, and going to make some moves there. UCI hasn't done much, but it's always that question of where sport and politics mix. And they said should send a message, what he said, but what? And cycling is so small, and it just puts the perspective. I mean, Putin's not going to notice if Rosvelo is not able to race. Gazprom Rosvelo, the mainly backed Russian team. I think they have 9 riders I looked at, but it was one of the riders that was in the break. They had a couple riders in the break today at the UAE Emirates, and the rider Matthias Vacek, who's not Russian, he's Czech. He's only 19. He won the stage today. But that comes right after the Tour Rwanda stage, which was run by Ukrainian Anatoly Budyek won the stage there. So you have to wonder that if he had just extra, he had extra motivation to do well. I mean, it kind of proves too, like the mental aspect of sport and even cycling, where you can have a big mental motivation and it can carry over to your physical ability or make you, propel you to win. I mean, I guess you see that in all sport, like American football games. The momentum changes are just amazing, where you can see one team in the first half dominate and then fall apart, and the momentum swing to the other way. So where physically what do they do differently, or how do they change? I mean, sometimes there are injuries, but the mental aspect is fascinating. But to see a Ukrainian win and then a Russian team win, but that's maybe another podcast too.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's and actually the mental aspect of the sport has always been important, but it's getting more and more um, attention given to it for sure. So there's books about it. There's people that are specializing in it. There's coursework that you can take on it too. So yeah, you're right. It's super important. Sometimes, and even in a thing like a time trial, where you think, well, it's just you against the clock. There's no one else there. Your motivation isn't as important. It's sometimes even more important because it's being able to push yourself to what level, to
Sure.
maximize, to reach those numbers that you should reach, and that kind of thing too. So Stefan Messenger, is he faster than Filippo Ganna? He was that day on a very flat course and stuff too, but overall, you'd think Ghana would win, maybe 8 out of 10 of those time trials. But that was one of those two that Messenger was able to get the better of them. So yeah, there's always a lot of intangibles that you can't put down just as pure strength to win these races.
Yeah, Jens and Bobby, they interviewed Cadel Evans recently. And actually, they did 2 interviews. They couldn't cover it all in one.
Oh,
and, wow. Yeah, I mean, if you really want to know, I mean, we're guys in their 50s. You're going to be 62, late 50s, and so our reference of cycling goes back, into the 80s.
Yeah.
And so we talk about these other riders, but Jens and Bobby, they're actually a little younger than we are, not much, but they raced, but they're they raced against all the guys that we follow, we know, and they have stories, personal stories, and we're in the races and can really relate back, and it's pretty fascinating, all the different people they interviewed and talking about. But Cadel Evans, but to tie it back to what you're talking about, the mental aspect, in the time trial when he won the Tour in 2011, and he had to make up a couple minutes on Andy Schleck to get the yellow jersey, which was very much what he should have done, and he did do. But to get that first time check, he was just talked about how mentally advantageous that can be if you're doing well, and how it can change you and motivate you and keep you pushing. Where if you had like a bad maybe time at the first, it might set you off. And probably saw that just a couple of years ago, Pogčcar, when he overtook Roglic in that final time trial, the Tour. Roglic just really came all apart, mentally as well, I guess too. So, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you think about like Andy Hampsten when he won the Giro d'Italia in '88. I mean, he was a competent time trialist for sure, but certainly not the best. And yet he won the time trial when he was winning the Giro in '88. So that just
the strength of the yellow jersey we always hear too. Riders riding strong. So, but so you can win in Rwanda. We'll probably maybe later on they'll have all the highlights. GCN app, the GCN we're gonna try to get them to sponsor us maybe, because we talk about that. They have such a lot of content now, and for a much lower price than anywhere else. I think it's a really good deal to follow them, and they've got more than you can digest really. Like the Lantern Rouge guys, I think they must watch cycling all day long. I don't know what else how they to put out. Like I always wonder about Chris Horner too, because I like listening to Chris Horner's details and how he watches the races and has his butterfly effect videos. Like how much time is he spending each day? But he loves the sport and he's got some good insights, so it's nice that he can do it. And he's probably, he's got a lot of followers, and I don't know how much income he's making or how much he needs to make from it, but I guess enough to keep doing it. So I'm glad.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you and I are not making enough money to focus any more than we do already on this. So yeah.
I mean,
but we have fun though, for sure.
Yeah, because we like to keep up with it. I mean, it's more your work, but I've got interest as well to get with my media pass that I'm getting to go get to see some more races. So Rwanda Tour will maybe know more about that, especially if we've perhaps trying to get an interview with the racer that was there. We'll see how that pans out. But their highlights, maybe they'll pop up later on GCN, because you click on them now from the stage highlights and we're not seeing anything. But perhaps later on, like you said, the Wild Ice Generations has got some American riders. But I also saw Leo Hayter. He's just 20. He's a brother of Ethan Hayter from Ineos Grenadiers, who's racing this weekend as a classics rider. He's got a fast finish too. He can climb and fast finish like a lot of these young guys. But Leo, he's racing for the Great Britain team there, and he's doing pretty well in Tour Rwanda. So it'll be fun to follow him. But he's going to race this year with Higgins Action Berman. So
Oh well.
yeah. So that's pretty cool. So everything we tie it all together one way or another, don't we?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
In a roundabout way, but but there's another race going on that we got a North American win today. So we always favor our American riders.
A hard race too.
U.S. rider, but did you see? I watched that finish.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I didn't see it at all.
Well, at the one point in the coverage, they say, "Yeah, this is like the 28% part. A super steep finishing climb." This is
right?
Gran Camino. Yeah, Gran Camino. It's just a few stages. What, four stage race in northwest Spain. It's in the Galicia area. It's an area that gets a lot more rain and it's a lot more green, but beautiful area of Spain. I know our good friend John Hickox has done some cycling events there and talks about how nice that area. But so it was a race. It was Tour Galicia, I guess it was called at one time, because I looked up the result because I had heard on the coverage that Andy Hampstead won that tour.
Oh.
And I saw he won in 1993 when he was racing for Motorola. But it was won by a lot of big names before, and the race went away. But it's back now, a new stage race, and it's great. There's so many stage races now, it seems. I don't know if there's more now at the beginning, or we could just have better coverage, but it seems like, wow, there's so many going on. But, yeah, Mike Woods, it was all together with like 1.5K to go. It's just that one big climb. Big, steep
short
climb.
and steep, yeah.
There's
a little bit of a climb, looks like, then the descent, then the steep climb, right?
Yeah, and they said it went up to 30% also.
Oh wow!
To it.
No, 30%.
I mean,
your bike might go over backwards at 30%.
Yeah. So, but at least it was super steep, and Movie Star had at one point 3 out of the 4 guys in the front, with Ivan Sosa and Valverde, and Mike Woods was the only none.
Yeah, who's the third Movistar I got her?
Star with an S.
Serrano.
Serrano.
Yeah. Well, he was the next Movistar finisher at 27th.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Serrano. Yeah, but Mike Woods, man, he just pulled away. He just pulled away on that steep part.
Wow.
And Woods, Valverde, if he had the legs, he would have stayed with him, but he didn't. He didn't have the legs to stay. Yeah. It was one. It was under 1K to go when it got really steep, but it took him a long time because it was still so steep. And even the announcer saying, yeah, he's like running. It looked like he was more running on the bike, turning over the pedals, and of course a former runner. But he came in the season, I guess, in good shape, and he was very disappointed at Ruta del Sol that he got sick. So that's why we didn't see him performing well there. And so he was hoping that he was going to still have that form, and he looked really good. So they still have the Queen Stage tomorrow, a couple Cat 1 climbs, I believe, Cat 2 climb, and then a time trial on Sunday. But he's got 16-second.
Yeah, in the overall. So
over Valverde. So.
And then Fernandez from Cofidis next, and then Sosa again from Movistar, and then his teammate, Mike Woods' teammate. Yeah,
that's right. He's with the Israel Premier Tech now. Wow.
Yeah.
So he's setting up. Okay. So I saw Fugel say, "Oh yeah, he's that's good. He's up there looking well." Then I didn't put it together that they're teammates. So that would be a Israel Premier Tech and Movistar show maybe going on the next couple of days, but. Woods doesn't time trial particularly well. Valverde can time trial well, but fascinating. So that's cool.
They have a time trial the last day, so that might be decisive. It's short, I think. Let's see, 16K, 15.8K. So not too.
Maybe I see that Human Powered Health is there, and Chad Haga was 23rd today.
Oh yeah.
And he's an excellent time trial. So. Former Giro stage winner in the time trial. So I wonder what other top time trials are there. Maybe Chad will have a good go on Sunday.
Yeah, it's a little lumpy. It's got a little bit of a rise to the finish. Nothing big at all, but it's not dead flat like the UAE one was the other day. And I don't know the course interprets serpentine or not, but you're right. So that's kind of course. Haga's definitely a guy who can power over smaller rises and stuff like that too. So you might be.
Yeah, and I just remember then when we were talking about, we didn't mention in the UAE Tour and that final climb of that stage up to the Jezebel.
Yeah, Jezebel. Yeah,
Jezebel climb. That did you see who's up there for EF Education Easy Post? Let's see.
I remember them saying who it was, but
overall. Well, I'm just looking
overall, right? Yeah.
Ruben Guerrero was up there on that stage,
right?
But overall, because he had a good time trial, is Nielsen Paulus.
Yeah.
Nielsen Paulus, the San Sebastian winner, and that's good to see him already in great form. So,
yeah. And he finished in the same group that big group of 3 seconds back, too. So there's a big group there, and he was in that group.
Right. So he's right now sitting 5th, 23 seconds.
Yeah.
Or at least that was probably the same after stage 4.
I don't think.
That shouldn't have changed.
Yeah, it should change today. So yeah.
Right. All right. Yeah. So good to see Nielsen Paulus doing well there, and then hopefully we'll see a good ride by Chad Haga on Sunday.
Yeah, he's still 5th place, 25 seconds back, just behind Adam Yates. So it goes Pogačar, Ghana, Vlasov, Yates, and then Nielsen Paulus.
Yeah.
So yeah,
pretty good company.
Good company.
Yeah. Vlasov, who started out great, and I keep forgetting that he's not on Astana, Kazakhstan.
Yeah, Bora now.
Bora on Skrua. So yeah.
And he's been probably riding the best of the Bora GC guys too. So he's carrying the flag for them right now.
Yeah, I was just thinking of Bora. I was trying to remember. We podcasted on the 17th. Today is the 25th. So I don't think did we get in the rest of the races that we were talking about last week? Because I just started thinking of Bora Hansgrohe and Leonard Kamna with his nice win, where Bora did really well to pull out that stage in we had the Andalusia, and that was the Ruta del Sol, is Andalusia, right? And then we had the Algarve races. I don't know if we wrapped both of those up from last week.
Maybe not, because my e-race was on Sunday. We didn't talk about that yet. So
yeah, we want to get that in before. Let's see how we're doing on time, because you've got
we got a little bit of time.
So yeah, and then the other race, then it was just a couple of day race in the Maritime Alps. No, they had a different name too. All these names that get these races in the early season, we kind of call them one name, but then they have a different official name. But
right. Sponsors will change a lot of times.
Hout Var. It was a Hout Var. Because Nairo Quintana, he did really well on the down. Didn't he attack on the downhill?
I don't know.
On the descent? You didn't see that one? Let me pull it up right here. Yeah, the Tour Alps Maritimes, Hout de Var. Hout de Var is what they call it by. Yeah, he won the overall. It's just a couple of stages. Let's see. 3 stages.
He won the 3rd stage by 121 over Martin.
Yeah. With
Pinot next.
Yeah, but I think I wish I could go back and watch that now, because I forgot about the rest. Larry Werbus, I see he was there. He was 14th overall. But pretty far back. But it was like a downhill, I think, where Quintana got away.
It was a big mountain climb, then there was a long descent, and then a little bit of a climb, and then a descent to the finish.
So that's where Quintana won it, and so he's racing super well.
Yeah,
and Tim Wellens ended up second over. Tim Wellens has been strong. I don't know where Tim Wellens is racing this weekend. Where do you? Because I don't think of him being a stage racer as much as more of a good one-day rider. Oh, he's been his whole career on Lotto Soudal. Let's see upcoming races, because this weekend I don't know if we'll talk about this, because it's the opening weekend of the Cobbled Classics in Belgium. We got the Umlaut Het Nieuwsblad and Koen Russell Kern, and the women have Umlaut Het Nieuwsblad, and they have the Hageland, Hageland Tour. So
there's a Kern versus Kern
Tim Wellens
juniors race too.
Tim Wellens is doing Umlaut Het Nieuwsblad. So so he's a very versatile rider. He's 30 years old, so. Yeah, so we've had a good mix, really, of riders of all ages really winning so far. I mean, Valverde.
Magnus Sheffield to win too.
Yeah, that's in the Gran Camino race. That same race, he won the first stage. That Mike Woods now won the second. Yeah, nice win for him.
That was a big bunch too.
Yeah, he's a valuable rider for sure for EF Education Easy Post. Which before, I think the Bissinger and Court win, they hadn't had a win yet, where most teams have already cashed in getting a win so far this year. I think Israel Premier Tech, that was probably their first win too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Sometimes they win a smaller race or two, but yeah.
Most teams are doing pretty well, getting in at least one win so far.
Yeah, and those are both not World Tour races, but they're but they're still they're 0.1, so they're the third level down. So World Tour, and then there's the whatever they call the Pro Tour or whatever. Then there's the 0.1, and then. So it's a third level race down, but if you look who's at those races, oh my gosh, that's really good riders. So certainly not quite as valuable in terms of pure points, but certainly a quality win.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't want to miss out because we obviously the weekend races last week that we've already forgotten about, the Ruta del Sol and the Volta Algarve. Well, Algarve race. We were, following, of course, Brandon McNulty, doing so well there, and he did end up second overall.
He moved up a spot.
Yeah, he
day,
did.
right?
Yeah, now it's coming back to me because Remco Evenepoel just blew everyone out of the water in that time trial. He was just fantastic.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that last podcast, but he went on to win the overall, and it was it Movistar or Ineos that had two? It was Ineos because it was Ethan Hayter. Ethan Hayter, he was not able to hang on the final climb on the Sunday because they finished on a climb. Now it's coming back to me.
Yeah. So
and they had, because Ineos had a couple riders, but then they I don't know, you sacrificed Hayter, but he didn't have the form to stay because they did the final climb twice. But Brandon McNulty was up there the whole time. Someone was going to have to attack to get that time back on Remco Evenepoel, but he's too strong. I mean.
Yeah, he's riding really strong unless it's super steep on gravel, right? And it was
it
was a relatively short climb again. It was yeah. So Higuita got the win. Martinez was second, and McNulty was third.
Yeah. Actually, McNulty he made the attack. He let out the
yes
going up. Now it's all coming back.
Yeah,
which is great to see him to see him be active. I mean, there he was. He was I think a chance to at least go for a stage.
Yeah.
But,
if I remember right, too, Evenepoel kind of pulled away he led the group. There was a group of 5 that was off at the end. So, and then he was just pulling, and they established a gap. And then when McNulty jumped, I think Evenepoel didn't really have anything to follow anybody.
Right, he got gapped a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah, he was actually in the standings he's 9 seconds back. So it was Higuita, Martinez, and McNulty was 1 second back, and then Gaudu was with McNulty, and then Evenepoel came in and slightly after that. And then the next person was Tobias Foss, who's been having
he was fantastic too.
Yeah, and Jay Vine together at 22 seconds back. Both those guys had great races. Yeah, and Ethan Hayter came back 42 seconds, so he was with a smaller group, but he was the first. Martinez was the first Ineos guy. He was the second, so they had an Ineos guy up there, but I guess they. They had second and fourth. McNulty was third going into it, but he was able to move up then to second. So Martinez moved up to third too. So
right, because Hayter was second.
Yeah,
going into it, right? Yeah, no, it's great to see McNulty doing so well early on like that. And Human Powered Health, I think, had to leave the tour though because they had some COVID tests positive. So unfortunately,
yeah, I think Ben King wrote that he didn't test positive, but a second person did. So the team just decided it would be in the best interests of the whole race together. They all left since at least 2 of the riders were testing positive.
So, can you remember now that now that we're pulling back our memory from just last week of the races, the Ruta del Sol, the Andalusia race? Did that come down to a climb then too, didn't it, on a Sunday?
Yeah, we can see here.
Yeah.
And it's like once we see that, we'll get or
right. We'll trigger our memory. So
yeah, we should do this before we go on air.
Yeah, well, we were talking about other stuff. Well,
so Walt Pulls.
Oh yeah, Walt Pulls. Yeah, that was the race that really Miguel Angel Lopez, right? And that's down in Kazakhstan. That's the race that Chris Horner was just railing on. The tactics of the Astana team and Lopez, and they're using their guys. And I think on that final day too, that if they wanted to do anything, they had to do it much further out, and they didn't try. But they probably didn't have the legs, I guess. But yeah, Walt Pulls was able to hang on. He had to dig hard. Walt Pulls for Bahrain victorious. So
Magnus Sheffield had a great race.
Oh yeah, he came. He was in the break that day.
Yeah, he was fourth place.
So was it that last day, the Camino? Because I mentioned it. Yep, Camino. Yep. That's the one that he won. Okay, Leonard Camino. But I think Buchmann and Camino, maybe they were both in the. They'd missed the split. That was the race that had the split early on, the early stages, right? Some wind stage, and so some riders missed out.
that race it finished the final stage just in tatters. So nobody finished together. Yeah, so it was Camna, then Fortunato.
Oh yeah, he did a great ride for the. I think of them more of the Basso Contador team, but
Iolo Komata. And then Kobe, who was having a fantastic race, he finished third.
Because he was in the race lead before that.
Yeah, so he had a third place in that stage. And then Sheffield
for UAE Emirates.
Great.
Sheffield out of the break, who won the second stage, right? Second stage.
Yeah. So he's been Then Serrano, Bookman, so it was but there was nobody finishing together until they have to probably go down to some kind of gruppetto. Yeah, because you have to go all the way down to 56th place so you find a group of more than two guys together. So it was just shattered. Of course, on the last day too, you have less motivation to ride together with a group like that. But yeah, it was. I didn't even see that last stage, but
I did watch it, and so
you want to go back and look at it. Yeah,
I should have remembered. Yeah, no, I remember now. Yeah, I did watch the rest of that. I think I was, where was I? London before my London. I can't remember. Anyway, no, fantastic racing going on there that we already forgot about just a week later, because we got such good racing going on now. But you were busy racing yourself that Sunday. Yeah,
racing and then at a group ride too. Two things going on. So
yeah, you were racing in the National E Championships comes early in the year, but that kind of really at the right time of year, because you would think people who are racing in the E Championships, which is you're racing on a trainer, and being winter in the North America, and a lot of riders have been probably doing a lot more training rides, so it's probably maybe a fitting time to have the E National Championships after being in the winter and have something to shoot for. And wow, you won.
I won
your age group.
Yeah, 64. Yeah,
national champion, E National Champion. Is this the first E National Championships?
E-sport, they call it.
E-sport. Yeah, because it kind of like makes it confusing with e-bike. Yeah, this is totally different.
Yeah, so it's USA Cycling's E-sport National Championship. First one they've had. They had World Championships last year, UCI World Championships on Zwift, and Zwift is going to do the World Championships again. This weekend. So yeah, I think this weekend. But the USA Cycling, the first year they had it, the National Championships, and it was on the RGT platform. And yeah, I think for me it makes sense, because this is what I do spend more time with the trainer, and I haven't been the trainer since. I don't know when I'm going to be on it again, since then. But it's always amazes me, because I do the Echelon Pro Race Series, which helped me a lot get ready for this race, because I knew more about the dynamics and everything of the e-race platform and the RGT specifically race platform. So I think that helped me a lot. But I'm getting just toasted in those races. There's people coming into those races in fully this is their, I don't know if it's the peak of their season, but they're definitely in way better shape. Where I'm 40 watts below my FTP right now, just trying to get some miles in. And so it's definitely not the peak of my season for sure, but for some people it is. But yeah, it was a relatively small group, but we had the group 50, 54, 55, 59, 60, 64 together, although it was a little confusing because I sprinted out the finish with a guy who was wearing a jersey from the 65, 69 group, and I didn't think they're supposed to be in our wave. And then on the official results, it showed him as being 60, 64, but he wasn't on my list of starters, my category. So I'm really glad I beat him in the sprint, because I would have hated to have lost the jersey to someone I thought was in a different age group if he was really in my age group. But it was the Iron Horse Classic course, which is available with the premium membership for RGT. And although I got it, I was just on the 2-week trial version. So you can do it if you do the 2-week trial version. It has one longer climb, a bunch of shorter climbs. And I just tried to watch my competitors in my age group. And on the first big climb, the Iron Horse Classic, we got a gap on everybody else in my age group. And there was a group of 5 guys that went off the front. I think 6 guys went off the front.
It looked like you're replaying it all in your head. You've got your eyes closed, and you're going through the whole memory of the race, like you can see it in your head there.
Yeah. So anyways, I rode together with people, and I had glitches where the people kept disappearing and reappearing, and so I've learned though on RGT, you just keep pedaling hard when everybody else disappears, because if you coast or anything or back off, then when they reappear,
like what's going on, and you don't
then you get dropped when they come back in. And then the guy we ended up dropping everybody else, this other guy and I, came to the finish, and it was just the two of us, and at 2K out I thought I'm just gonna go hard and just take it from 2K out, and at 2K out he jumped. So luckily I was ready for it though, because I was ready to go as well. And so then I was able to quickly get on his wheel, and then we kept the watts up then from 2K out all the way to the finish, and I had him gapped by just like, I don't know, 5 feet or so, 10 feet for a while. So he wasn't getting much of a draft off me, but he was getting a little bit probably. And then, we went back and forth, and then he put in a huge effort with like 500 meters to go, and I was able to get on his wheel again, and then I went by him and I was able to pass him at the end. So it was fun. So I get an E jersey, I guess. If I race anymore on RGT, now I get to wear an E national championship jersey, and it does make me a multiple national champion. So, it was fun to do, and I was just, again, anything you do that's on the bike is fun, even if it's on a stationary bike inside watching a video screen. But it was still fun to do, and I think my fitness is getting a little bit better now. I've been riding more, and so getting ready for
it motivates you too, probably, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I want to. Yeah, so I've got my gravel camp coming up, and then I got a slow camp coming up, so I'll get a lot of miles in, and then hopefully be in really good shape to do some of the Hincapie season races, early season races here, spring series races, and then go to Gila after that, where I'd like to win the 60 plus there.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot of climbing there.
Yeah, at altitude too.
Yeah, so. That's big. Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, it was fun to do.
So next podcast, let's say I'm Dean Warren from wherever I am, and I'll say I'm Randy Warren, reigning e-race,
e-sport,
e-sport national champion. Yeah, I can't even say it. You'll have to introduce yourself.
That's okay.
The current national champion. Yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe so. Yeah, yeah. So it's good. Hey, it's always good to do races, and that's why we some of us why we still ride our bikes as hard as we do. So, but and that helps. I tell my athletes too the same thing. Like when you're suffering through the wintertime or feeling like you don't want to go as hard or whatever, too, you just think about that big race that you're preparing for. It might be 6 months away or something, but or if it's not a race, even an event or whatever it is. But that's what you're preparing for. That's what you're doing all these extra time for now, and it'll pay off if you do it, and if you don't, you'll suffer the consequences later. So it's
the pain now or the pain later, right?
Yeah.
Better to have the pain now where you're at home and you could just than out on the road somewhere, an event you really want to do well in.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, I think it's time we hit our birthday list and wrap this up. Podcast 280 of the Warren Cycling Podcast here, late February 2022, and I'm looking at the top of the list is a retired rider.
By a while.
Yeah, he's turning 76 today. Jose Antonio Gonzalez. Very, very good Spanish name, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
you gotta say what I haven't looked at and see what he's done.
No, I was just looking at his overall. He's won 4 times the overall of the Pays Basque race, the Vuelta of Pays Basque, which is that the same as the Tour of the Basque Country? Pays Basque? I think that's what they call that. Yeah. He's won 3 stages of the Vuelta of Spain. It looks like pretty much all the success came in Spain in the 70s.
And back in the 70s, most Spanish riders raced mostly in Spain too. So you gotta contextualize it. And he raced for KAS, for Cost.
Yeah.
Almost the whole his whole career.
He won a stage at the Tour. There we go. 1970s
right.
Tour stage winner. Wow, when's your Tour stage winner? That's career defining. Yeah. But next on the list,
current rider.
Yeah, current rider who last couple of years been racing cyclocross.
Yeah.
And he's a interesting character. Heinrich Housler celebrating his 38th birthday. Heinrich Housler, who is German-Australian. So
yeah. Yep. And he came on like gangbusters too when he first started racing, and everybody,
more of a classics rider.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Classics rider, stage hunter, kind of guy that could do almost anything. Not really necessarily, stage race, but he could.
Yeah. He won a stage at the Vuelta in 2005.
Yeah, he's second place in Milan San Remo, in 2009. So he's second in
09, 010, 11. Those
Flanders.
were really his big. Yeah. He won the stage at the Tour in 2009. I'll try because I was at that. I don't know if it was the stage I was at because I drove on a layover from Zurich. We drove. I think it was still in France, or maybe it was in Switzerland, but it was. I took a couple of my crew members. One was a big Lance Armstrong fan because he had come back to race, I guess, in 2009, right? Anyway, arrival in Colmar. I think this is the stage. Yeah, I think I was at that stage that he won.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heinrich
He's
Housler.
been,
He was with
been a,
Cervelo testing then.
he's been a pro since '04 too.
It was a
Long time.
cold, rainy day too.
which seems like a Heinrich Housler kind of day. So
right.
Yep. Amazing career. Yep.
So yeah, we have who we have on the list too here. Marco Pinotti. Wow.
Yeah,
Marco
Pinotti.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
He's third on the list there. Yep. Excellent time trialist for an Italian.
Yeah. Yeah, and Pelo Bilbao, he's still an active racer.
Still riding, yeah.
Yeah. And then our first woman, Christine Majerus.
Yeah, Majerus, a multi-cycling sport athlete, top road 35. And cyclocross racer.
Yeah, she's 35. Still doing great for sure.
Is she from Luxembourg? I think she's Luxembourg, isn't she? Luxembourgian.
Their flag is a little bit more faded than the French flag.
Yeah,
Luxembourg.
Yeah, she's from Luxembourg.
Yeah,
small country, but that's where the Schleck brothers are from, right?
Yes, definitely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And she's been a pro since '08.
Oh, a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. She's the epitome of the classic cycling pro there. Yep.
First U.S. rider celebrating their birthday here. The showing is Andrea Ratkovic, turning 56 today. Happy birthday! She won a stage at the Tour de Gila. Wow, in 2000.
Okay. Yeah, look and see who else it is.
Josh Kelly's 39. We just hit the U.S. riders that maybe you know. Finn Thompson, just 20. Finn Thompson. Rebecca Much.
Oh, was it Rebecca's birthday? I didn't even know that.
Rebecca's birthday. Yeah.
I'll send her a text. So yeah, so I coached Rebecca for many years. When she was second place in the Junior World Championships in the time trial in '04, and was a pro for quite a few years. So yeah, she's a super quality person living out in the state of Washington right now. So I think she's Anyway, she was signed by T-Mobile after she got second.
Right.
Worlds
and I was just listening to the Cadell Evans interview with Jens and Bobby, and Cadell went to T-Mobile, and those are years that he doesn't want to talk about.
Yeah, I don't know if Rebecca wants to talk about it either.
Yeah, so I'm kind of like putting them together.
But then she raced. She took a little break, and then she raced for Webcor and Tipco. Which Webco became Tipco at that point. So, and then Tipco.
Tipco's now part of EF Education. Racing the World Tour this year. Yeah. All right.
So she was. I don't know if she was there, but she was best young rider at like the Saudi Tour or something like that. So she went over to do all those races and stuff too. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of cyclists, when you hear a common theme after the career, like even listen to Cadell, it's just the opportunity to see so much of the world is a big advantage that they look back on saying, wow, that was great to be able to go so many places and race, and a lot of them too, they talk about how great it was, just the camaraderie and their teammates, and they think about those things. So they don't necessarily always think about the wins and stuff as much as where they got to travel and who they got to be with.
Yeah. And then so you definitely you get a lot of the career for a lot of different things too. Unfortunately, Rebecca had a bad cyclocross crash where she hurt her back, and that kind of derailed her for a long time. But she was running off-road. I was running like trail races though, and her back could handle the trail races, but it couldn't handle cycling so much. And I've heard that other people too, that even with bad backs, trail running is not a bad sport to try. So.
Nice. Kirby Newman's birthday today. Happy birthday, Kirby. Chris Atten. Elias Lawson. Happy birthday, Elias. Randall Coxworth.
Randall Coxworth.
Yeah.
53. So we raced together before. So I wished him happy birthday already.
Right. So. Adam Switters is 35 today. Several birthdays here late. Brian Crosby's 35. Here at the end of it. Doug Schuler. Doug Schuler is 43.
Ian, did you say Ian? Oh, Ian's birthday is today too. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, Ian Whaley's birthday. Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah.
All right. Happy birthday to Ian.
Yeah, we raced together at the Joe Martin stage race. So.
Yeah. Excellent. Oh, there he is. Yeah, he's on the list here too.
Yeah.
Big list today. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this week's War and Cycling podcast. Tried to pull our memories just back from last weekend and catch up on what was going on, but we didn't really talk about it all that was coming up this week. The cobbled classics, but just mentioned a little bit. Van Aert's, of course, a big favorite. Tom Pidcock could do well. Alpha Vinyl, like a Quick Step Alpha Vinyl, they've got a few riders, but no, they don't have like a Tom Bonin in their lineup right now. I mean, Casper Asgreen's really good, but they've got always just some really strong riders. Any one could win, but nobody they would all rally around like a Bonin, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting too because sometimes now these first races we'll see somebody performing maybe better than expected, and so there might be somebody newer on the scene that then will give us hope for them to do really well in some of the maybe bigger cobble classics coming up.
Yeah, the biggest one, of course, a couple months away, and we'll talk about it all next time we get together. And thanks so much. Bill, I'll talk to you each week about all the cool stuff going on with cycling.
Yeah, it's great, Dean. Thanks
all
so
right.
much.
Bye now.
All right, bye now.